Thank you, and it was really interesting to listen to the last panel in the second day of Chairing and Security Forum, and it was a pleasure to have such a great selection of speakers in these 2 days. I can say that 2 days later, 5 panels and 1 workshop, I can conclude that basically the conversation about digital transformation in the context of COVID-19 is something we have inherited from the days before the pandemic. But now we have a stronger sense of urgency to talk about regulation, to be proactive when it comes to cooperation between public and private actors, especially when it comes to data protection at micro level and protection of democratic security at the macro level. I can say that this is my key takeaway from these panels, and let me go back very quickly to what we discussed yesterday. For instance, the Vice President of the European Commission, Vera Jourova, she opened the conference pointing to the key challenges that are faced currently by the European Union when it comes to cybersecurity, especially in the context of 2020, 2021, and the whole digital push we have experienced. Tyson Barker pointed that actually, indeed, COVID-19 has been one of the greatest accelerators of technological adoption, and that basically the democratic world at the moment is facing a crisis of connectivity, especially when it comes to the lack of regulation still in many aspects. And now the big questions that we have, consequences, whether we have to have sanctions for cyber attacks, whether we should adopt a different approach when it comes to regulation of social media and data collection, questions that basically appeared in today's discussion as well. One interesting aspect that we paid attention to yesterday was data protection ethics and human rights, something that I don't think appears very often in discussions. And for instance, Josephine Ballot paid attention to online violence and the victims of online violence, and that people who are vulnerable to discrimination are not only minority groups, women, but also activists and politicians. They are also very often targets of hackers and haters. And today we had a chance in the morning to discuss with our colleague Federica Cristani all these tracking apps which Europeans have used during the pandemic, which also raise concerns related to data collection, privacy, and whether we have all the necessary regulations in place in order to feel safe, not only about our public health, but also about our data. And in the second panel today, we had a chance to pay attention to the macro picture, which is about political surveillance, especially in the context of Russia and China, two big powers for which we know that information operations are part of the arsenal when it comes to warfare, when it comes to new economic solutions, and also the way they interact in the global system and in the field of international relations. One interesting key point that I took from this panel was made by Lisa Kaufman, who said that even though Russia, for instance, enjoys the status of cyber superpower abroad, domestically it is still struggling to create the fully national and digitally sovereign internet. And also there were a lot of, let's say, similarities, but also differences when discussing the Chinese and the Russian surveillance technology deployment. And of course, this refers not only to the capacity, but also to the geopolitical goals of these powers. And what I really want to conclude with is basically I really like the point in the last panel today about the responsibility or the role of domestic actors when we talk about polarization, and specifically the question where politics ends and where disinformation campaigns begin. It's actually really hard to say, especially in the context of the pandemic. So to sum up, I think that on the table we have a lot of questions to deal with in the next year two related to how we regulate this new digital world in which we happen to exist, especially in the past 2 years under the condition of the pandemic. We don't know how long this is going to continue, the situation in which we live in right now and in which we have this conference happening. But the big questions are on the table, and I think it's in the hands of policymakers, but also researchers to address them. So, saying that, I would like to thank you, all the moderators, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well, all our partners, including NATO and Eber Stiftung, for their support, for the cooperation, and to our viewers. Everything we discussed in this today, so you can actually watch online on our website. So it would be great if you, of course, leave your feedback, or if you want to share on social media some of the panels. And thank you once again for the participation to all panelists.
Well, Asya, congratulations for excellent conference.
Thank you. Thank you once again. And what to say? Goodbye until the next Chernin Security Forum?
Until the next Chernin Security Forum, but we would also like to invite people to hang out with us.
Absolutely. I almost forgot, just because I was too focused on the key takeaways, but please join us for the network session if you'd like to exchange some thoughts or questions with our speakers. We're going to take like 2 minutes break, and then you're going to find the link to the network event on our website. So please join us.
Yes.